Does anyone still think we went to the moon? I mean, for real. So 51 years ago, we went to the moon, but we can't go back today.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
Isn't our technology supposed to be better now? Here's what phones looked like 51 years ago. And here's Richard Nixon talking to someone on the moon using one of those phones.
Go ahead, Mr. President. This is Houston out.
Hello, Neil and Buzz. I'm talking to you by telephone from the Oval Room at the White House. And this certainly has to be the most historic telephone call ever made.
That's right. Richard Nixon used a landline to call the moon. Do you guys believe that was real? But the real question is, why does anyone believe it in the first place? Oh, because you saw it on TV? Do you guys think that video was real?
Houston, we've had a problem. Main B, bus undervolt.
Roger, main B undervolt. Stand by 13, we're looking at it.
Okay, right now, Houston, the voltage is looking good.
Who filmed the first shot of Neil Armstrong stepping onto the moon? Did they set up a camera crew before he got there? Was the cameraman the first guy to actually walk on the moon?
Well, let's talk about this, because this is fascinating. I remember very clearly, I think anybody who was alive at the time does, I remember my parents waking me up, and we went down and we watched you guys land on the moon.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
What?
Because there wasn't any television. There wasn't anybody taking a picture. You watched animation. So you associated what you saw with...
I have very hazy memories.
I know.
Well, no, what we saw was we all were gathered around the old curved top radio and listened.
Talking about, how many feet we were going to the left and right, and then I said, contact light, engine stop, and a few other things, and then Neil said, Houston, Tranquility Base, the Eagle has landed. Man, how about that?
That was very exciting.
Not a bad line.
Yeah.
Where are all the stars? Where's the sun? Oh, supposedly they went in the daytime, and that's why you can't see the stars. But yet, there's the Earth. And does anyone believe they flew back in this piece of garbage?
3, 2, 1, ignition. Right away, Houston. Vector good. Ag thought.
Look at the gaps in the panels on this thing. Isn't space supposed to be a harsh environment? They went through space in our atmosphere in this thing? Do you guys believe that? And who filmed the shot of them leaving? So the cameraman who was the first guy actually on the moon got left on the moon. That's kind of weak. Oh, and by the way, did you guys know that NASA lost all the tapes and telemetry data from the previous moon missions?
Seen anything that indicates the telemetry data is even in existence, and as I said, even if we had it, we don't have the machines to play it back.
Doesn't have it either. Smithsonian doesn't have it. Johnson doesn't have it.
Right. We've been unable to track it down. I mean, we don't know where this telemetry data ended up, and we don't know what path it may have taken. So, unfortunately, I'm afraid I can't really give you much of a clue as to where this data ended up and whether it still exists or not.
Here we are, 51 years later, and we can't go back to the moon. Do you guys believe that? Like I said, guys, this stuff is make-believe. Okay, so I'm back with more moon questions. Let's talk about the lunar rover. Have you guys seen this video? Do you think this looks real? Is that a dummy strapped to that thing? It's not moving. Also, a nice satellite dish. Has it got XM radio? Also, look at how the moon dust reacts. Kind of reacts just like dust or sand on Earth because it goes right back to the ground. I thought there was less gravity there. Speaking of that, isn't there supposed to be no wind on the moon? Look at the flag waving. Did somebody open the studio door? Yeah, it shouldn't be moving, right? There's supposed to be no air up there. If there's wind. There's obviously wind, because that's what flags do. They wave in the wind. But guys, did you see the post-flight press conference when they supposedly got back from the moon?
It's our privilege today to share with you.
Have you seen 3 more depressed guys than these guys?
The details of that final month of July.
Does it look like they just did what no man had done before?
Certainly the highlight for the 3 of us of that decade.
Aren't they supposed to be excited?
We're going to divert a little bit from the format of past press conferences and talk about the things that interested us most, in particular the things that occurred on and about the moon.
This looks like a hostage video.
We will use...
Contrast this video with the pre-flight video, Something Saw.
Or maybe we'd go the other.
Tell me about your question.
Mike? My wife and children have signed a statement that they have no germs and...
Maybe because before the mission, they thought they were actually going to the moon. After the mission, they realized they didn't go, and they were never going to go. But that's just me, guys. All right, guys, question for y'all. Do you believe this story is true? I mean, come on. NASA flew a car-sized satellite up to the sun. First off, right off the bat, the picture's fake, obviously. You know, they didn't have a selfie stick on this thing, so get a picture of itself in the sun. And also, it's still 5.8 million miles away, supposedly, from the sun. So that means it's traveled 87 million miles since 2018. Do you guys believe that? It goes 365,000 miles an hour? What? I mean, are you kidding me? Look at it. Obviously, first of all, the picture's fake once again, but wouldn't it need to be sleek to go that fast without breaking apart? Yeah, I would think so. But I guess aerodynamics don't matter because there's no resistance in space. And there's no gravity, right? Except for when they have to use Venus's gravity, apparently, in order to do a thing. Which actually leads me to another question. If there's zero gravity at the International Space Station, how come this thing can be affected by Venus's gravity? How come the International Space Station is not affected by Earth's gravity when it's really close? Right? Relatively speaking. This stuff is such garbage. Isn't the sun supposed to be hot? Isn't that what they say? How come this thing's not melting? The sun's really hot. How come it's really cold in outer space? Supposedly. And if the sun is really hot, and the closer you get to it, the hotter it gets, how come when you go to the tops of mountains, there's snow up there? Wouldn't it be hotter up there? And because heat rises too? Just asking. Just asking. And also, how did they get a signal back from this thing when it's 87 million miles away? That's pretty far, right? Do you ever go just a little ways out of the city and all of a sudden all the bars on your phone drop? Like because you're just a little bit away from the cell phone towers? Isn't that strange? And yet they can get a signal 87 million miles away. Which leads me to another question. So supposedly the sun is 93 million miles away. And yet it's the exact same size as the moon, which is really close, relatively speaking. That's weird, right? That they're the exact same size. That's why you can have like an eclipse. Eclipse works. That's a thing, right? It's strange. I think it's strange. Maybe it's not really 93 million miles away. Because how would they know that? Oh, because they know how big it is? Well, how do they know how big it is? Because they know how far away it is? How do they know how far away it is? Because they know how big it is? How did they know either of those two things without knowing one of them first off? This is make-believe.